Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 602. I had the white pieces and played e4, and after e5 I go knight f3. He defends with knight c6, defending the e-pawn, and I go with bishop c4, the Italian game. Bishop b5, the Ruy Lopez is the most popular move in this position, but this is a playable move as well and kind of interesting. He goes bishop c5, one of the main responses. The other top choice is knight f6 going into the two knights defense. But bishop c5, and now I can play b4 here and go for the Evans gambit. It's an interesting way to play if you like gambit play, but I go for c3, which is more the main move there. Knight f6 now attacking this pawn, and now there's two choices here basically. You can go with d4, kicking the bishop, and you end up basically sacrificing a pawn in this line if black plays along in the main line, but white gets some compensation. It's pretty interesting, a different kind of gambit and maybe not as familiar as the Evans gambit. Or you can play d3, the most solid choice, and the way the top level players usually will play this. It's an interesting position. I don't play so often with d3, but I thought I would give it a try for variety. And my opponent immediately goes wrong here with the move h6. Stopping, well, it stops a pin on the knight, but it's not so much to the point. The more accurate moves are d6, opening up a line for the bishop and shoring up the center, or a6, preparing a retreat square for this bishop. Anyway, after h6, I have a pretty significant edge out of the opening, bigger than usual opening advantage. And but I immediately give it back with this move, bishop to b3. So I thought it was interesting to look at this with the chess engine and see how this should be played. And it comes up with a really excellent suggestion of the move b4. So b4 kicks the bishop, and this is an idea in any case. It solves a couple of problems. You're gaining space on the queen side, kicking this bishop back, but you're also taking that square on a5 away from the knight, so it protects this bishop. The move I played, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button there. The move I played was bishop to b3, with the idea that if he plays knight a5, then I can just retreat the bishop back to c2. And so it saves the bishop, but it doesn't do it with tempo, and it doesn't gain any space on the queen side. So that's why this b4 move is doubly good. It protects that bishop, and it gains space, and it gains time. I don't waste any time. So maybe triply good, I should say. Bishop to b6, a4, I can keep pushing, and he has to play a6 to prepare a square for his bishop. And now it's my turn to move. I've secured my bishop for free, and I get to play some other move. So this is definitely the way to keep the opening edge. After bishop to b3, we're now in the range of even. So he goes d6 now. I play bishop e3. I'm not worried about this trade of bishops. I'll just take back with a pawn. It'll give me an open f-file and a little more control in the center. You do have to worry about the pawn on e3 becoming weak, but it's a trade-off, and usually it works out to white's advantage. So he doesn't trade. He drops back to b6. That's good. I play bishop c2. Comes out with bishop g4, pinning my knight, and I bring my knight over to d2 to defend the knight and free up my queen to move without suffering any damage, and allowing me to unpin that knight. So now he comes in with knight to h5, and I kick the bishop with h3. Want to resolve the tension here. He either has to give up the pin or trade, so he decides to trade, which is reasonable. This is still a closed position, so the bishop pair advantage is not so great. It's not until the next move that he really gives the advantage back to me. So the way the chess engine would play this to keep the game on an even footing, it would take bishop takes e3, and when I take back, it would just retreat this knight back to f6. You might think that knight into g3 is an interesting move, but I guess the rook can just go to e2, or maybe to f2 or e1, and then that knight is going to have to move again. It's not particularly stable on that square, so it doesn't seem to help to put the knight into g3, and the engine just drops the knight back to f6. So this would be about an even game still. There's pros and cons. I wouldn't mind playing this with white, though. Like I said, I have these doubled pawns here, but I can now push my d pawn forward, maybe undouble those pawns, and I have this open f-file to work with attacking ideas. So an okay position. But knight f4, which he played, just gives an advantage to white. And I keep winning edge. Well, here, I'll play this move, d4. This is really the reason why this is a good position for white. It's not so much about these doubled pawns. It's the fact that the trade pulled that pawn away from the e5 square so that I can push on with d4 and just block these two pieces out of the game. So now I have some time to organize a kingside attack, and I can get my pieces over here, and his pieces are somewhat restricted. So this is a pretty good advantage for white. This is maybe winning with best play. Of course, we don't have best play here, but I keep the edge for quite a while. So rook to e1, rook to e8. Pretty normal moves here. I start to organize my pieces to bring them over. Got to figure out how to get the queen into the game. And he plays g6 to try and control these squares around the king. Bring the other rook in, so that's ready to hop up and over. Now he pushes on with a5. I think he's sort of out of ideas, but I would prefer in this position to try and find a plan that involves relocating those pieces and putting them on better defensive squares here. Anyway, I start rerouting my knight to a more active square. He pushes on with a4, going with g4, kicking the queen drops back, and I bring my queen over here to f3, putting some pressure on his f-pawn. So he defends with g5. I try to undermine with h4, and now he defends again with f6. So right here, I make a move that gives away some of my advantage, or a significant portion of my advantage. So the best way to continue is to just go ahead and take on g5. That's the chess-ended recommendation. And then black would take with the queen. We'll see why later. And then maybe the queen comes over here to attack the h-pawn. The king comes up. And, black just has all these weaknesses around the king. And I have still time to bring my pieces to organize them and get an attack going. Maybe even pushing the... I could push some pawns forward to get the king out of the way and put a rook on the h-file. It's one idea, although he can bring a rook over to the h-file to defend. Or I could go immediately for trying to open things up here. Or I could try and route a rook around this way. So a lot of different ideas. But it's clear that black has all the weaknesses here, and these pieces are still not participating. So good position. If we back up, why not take with the pawn? That's what I would have expected. But what's cool is that this move here, this is not so obvious, so I'm not surprised I missed this in a blitz game. What's surprising here is that this h-pawn is under attack and it cannot be defended. If the king comes over, for example, then e5 with check chases the king away, and then I can grab the pawn. If the pawn comes forward to h5, then I can just take it. And the rook can't come in and defend because of the pawn fork d5, forking the rook and the knight. So there is no defense to just grabbing that pawn over here and weakening further the black's king side here. So that's the winning plan right here. Anyway, I went with g3. And now in this position, he has a chance, which actually I think I noticed during the game. He can kick my knight with h5. And when the knight drops back, he can trade off a few things to create some weaknesses against my king. And best play might proceed like this. And so he just has managed to hold on for a few more moves here and also create some weaknesses. And while white is still better, I think it's probably a little easier for me to get my rooks over. But now his knight can think about coming into the game here. And it's still a game. Let's see. After I played g3, he went rook to f8. And now I'm winning once again. I take. And I cancel that. G takes f4. Oh, I took this way. Yeah, because I wanted to win the f-pawn. But he didn't take back here. He took back on h4. And then but in any case, I've got the the g file open, so I move my king to h2. Now let's see. Kicks my knight with h5. And now, of course, I'm threatening to bring my rook over here to skewer his queen and king. King goes here. Let's see, I grabbed a pawn, which may not have been best, but it doesn't hurt. I'm still winning all through this in spite of this pawn grab. Let's see, he trades off. and brings oh, and then he plays a3, pushing on with the a pawn. So I just play b3 to make sure it doesn't cause any damage over here, and this should be okay. I've held the pawn off. He brings his rook over. I trade off another defender around his king, and then I hop in with knight f5. So knight f5, it looks like a good move here, you know, bringing all my pieces into the game, but it turns out that e5 is just better. There's different things he can try. Eventually the chess engine settles on the move f5, which is a bit mysterious because it's just giving away that pawn, but I guess it buys a little bit of time, and the computer wants to defend this position, although it thinks white is winning, but it just thinks that's the hardest defense to crack. Let's see, if the queen just goes here and tries to hold on to the pawn, queen to g7, then queen to h5, see, and the knight comes over, knight to e7, and then knight to g4, hitting this pawn, threatening to grab there with check, and looks like this is winning for white as well. So those are my quickest wins in this position. And with knight f5, which is still winning. So for about 20 moves here, I've had a winning position, and I'm still winning. But somehow it doesn't work out for me. I play e5 now, thinking this is pretty strong. I've got this discovered attack on the queen, but the queen has time to move out of the way. I bring my queen over to g4, trying to sneak in towards his king. If I can get to this square, that would be good, but it's covered at the moment. He trades here. I take back. Oh, cancel. He took with the d pawn. I took back with the f pawn, and then he takes again. And this position, I played knight takes h4, grabbing another pawn over here on the king side. And that's after that, actually, it's even. So that's my this is the end of my the period where I was strictly winning, and now after knight takes h4, it's even. The best continuation here is to leave those pawns alone and push on with d5, kicking this knight. And if the knight goes to e7, I don't know where else it can go. After this trade, I get the queen in here with check, and we get a position similar to what occurs later in the game, where I have a queen and a light squared bishop against a queen and a dark squared bishop. But I've got my queen in here supported by a pawn, and I'm just pushing his king around, and this should be winning. So anyway, I played knight takes h4, and now it's for the next period, it's really just even, except that every now and then black makes a mistake, which is what happens in a long game, and I just failed to notice all the places where black made mistakes. So let's just kind of step through the game. You know, I'm playing actively here, and I think I'm still winning, but in fact that's wrong. That black has enough counter chances here. The position is open enough that he's going to get lots of checks against my king as soon as and his king is free to walk away. I didn't have it trapped in a box, and there's apparently no way to do it after that mistake of knight takes h4. Just one slip like that, and the win goes away. So this is all in the range of even. This f3 move was useful to so I could move the knight without worrying about the queen coming in here and taking on f2 with check and picking up this pawn. So I needed to play f3, and then I was able to grab this pawn. But well, this leads to some more trades. I thought, you know, I would come out of this into an endgame where I'm a pawn up, and moreover, this is a passed pawn. But the factor of the opposite colored bishops is pretty significant, and also the fact that his queen and his bishop are coordinating on the pawn means that I don't stay a pawn up. Still, I have winning chances with the outside passed pawn, but technically, with my open king and the opposite colored bishops, this is still a draw. So let's go on. There's lots more to go, and we'll step through this. I managed to pick up another pawn here, but now he gets a lot of checks, and again, that should end in a draw. But he makes a mistake here. Right there. I guess it's with this king c8 move. I didn't check to see where he should have gone. But after this, I've managed to get my king in a position where there's no more checks from his queen, and I have time for a quiet move here. And the quiet move that's winning is bishop to d3. The bishop just comes to this square, And the threat is bishop here, checkmate. And there's no good way for black to deal with that. So this is, he can, I think, give away some material. The engine was suggesting pushing that pawn forward and trying to open up some lines that way. But then I'd be 2 pawns up, and that would be winning for me. So anyway, that was one of my winning chances I missed. And then after that, it's back to even. Well, I think it repeats, and I had another chance to play bishop d3, but I won't show the same tactic twice. And then here, after king d8, I have one more chance. And this is pretty good. I've been winning from, let's see, after this move, bishop f2, I have a win starting with queen c6 check, which I play. So I recognize this is a good forcing move. His king can't go here because it's mate, so his king has to go here. And now the follow-up move I missed. So the follow-up move is the queen check in the corner. Not the most obvious one, but, well, it is obvious. I'm driving his king to the second rank, and then I can check, and his king has to stay close to the queen to just not lose material. And then I can creep closer with the queen. And the idea is I'm just running him out of moves. And let's see, he comes forward. I can check him with the bishop. He needs to stay in touch with the queen, but he's being forced away by the bishop check and the fact that the queen and the king are guarding all of these squares. So this is the moment at which I take advantage of my advanced king position and my light squared bishop. And now after queen c7 check, he actually gets mated. If the king goes to f8, it's mate immediately. There's no escape from that mate. And if he goes to e8, then I can grab the queen. So that's the cleanest and win and that I missed. So right here, I follow up queen c6 check with queen a8 check, and then that's game over. Anyway, I didn't do that. I threw in some more checks, not finding the right idea, and then the queens came off. We traded queens, and I went into this bishop endgame, which I have an extra pawn, so I have some ideas of winning, but let's see, let's back up. So right here, when he played bishop d4, this is my last chance to win the game. There's one more tactic here. Other than that, it's been a complete draw through all this sequence, other than these few slips of my opponent. Where right here I can play b4. And a very typical endgame idea, undermine this bishop, which is under attack from my king. If he takes the pawn, I'll grab the bishop. And if he moves the bishop, I'll grab the pawn. Well, or no matter what he does, I'll grab the pawn. If he does anything other than take it. So, and that would be winning too with the extra pawn. Anyway, that was my last chance. I didn't play that. I played king b5, and we get into a repetition here, and the game ended in a draw. So kind of a sad story there. But anyway, I hope you guys got some amusement out of this anyway. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.